Welcome back everyone to something about deep. Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 143 literally just blew us away. And in this video I'll be breaking down everything that just happened, including explaining to you guys the death battle that was set up by the Brain, also known as the Annihilation Migration or the Cooling Game. But most importantly, I have to mention this. Like gosh damn balls, the prediction curse technique is just too powerful. In the last few weeks, I went over my theory on the relationship between Choso, Itadori, and the Brain, explaining Itadori's parents. Jujutsu Kaisen Chapter 143 just confirmed everything. I mentioned how Choso is literally related to Itadori in some ways, and due to Alchemy's revelation that the false memories aren't due to any curse techniques, with many other tells, I theorized the Brain in fact took over one of Itadori's parents before it got a hold of Geto's body. We made a dedicated video on who the Brain is, and last week I also broke this down even further, so make sure you guys check those videos out. However, chapter 143 not only confirmed the prediction on Itadori's parents being the Brain, but also confirmed the prediction that Yuta was working against the JJK higher ups and pretending to want to kill Itadori. Our boy Dancho Hideout actually made an extensive post regarding this a while back. Now that everything has materialized, all of our points are connecting perfectly, and it's all thanks to you guys. Yes, you, the Balls Deep community, who are supporting us throughout all of this by smashing that like button, allowing us to provide you with the best Jujutsu Kaisen content. So please continue to smash that like button, showing your love and support. Okay, so before I get into explaining what the culling games are, which actually Megumi's sister will be the primary focus on, let's go over the massive revelation and confirmation to our theories of the Brain being Yuji's mother. But hold up, let's actually start from the beginning. Chapter 143 starts with Yuta, who has just stabbed our boy Itadori through his chest, to one-shotting Itadori's brother Choso. Now Choso was obviously weakened after defeating Naoya, but the way man just got put down, like damn. Yuta ain't a joke. Naoya, who's on the ground near death's doors, thinks to himself how Choso's blood isn't actually poison but acts like poison while it's mixed with his own blood, because Choso's blood isn't human and Naoya's blood is rejecting it. With that, Yuta interrupts Naoya's distressful thoughts by offering to heal him, explaining that his reverse curse techniques can be used on other people as well. A cool note is that this information was mentioned earlier by Akutami himself in the fanbook, stating that right now the only ones capable of healing others through direct output of positive cursed energy generated from reverse curse technique are Eri, Sukuna, and Yuta. But coming back, Yuta says that in exchange for healing him, Naoya must tell the higher ups that Yuji is dead. What? My boy can't be dead, right? Well, he isn't. So don't start panicking just yet, because this is where we get a flashback of Yuji as a baby. Yes, you heard that right. My boy was literally beaten so bad his brain went back to being a baby. We start with this flashback with baby Yuji being held by his father, where we then learn his name to be Jin, as he is called out by his own father. Jin responds to the call, "What is it, father? If you're going to talk about her, I'm leaving." Next, we see a younger version of Yuji's grandpa, who, if I had to say, does look a lot like Yuji. Yuji's grandpa is arguing with Jin, Yuji's dad, to leave that woman because he will die. Instantly, without reading ahead, it's obvious that this woman is someone who has come into Jin Itadori's life and is very dangerous, to the point where Yuji's grandpa has to speak out. Yuji's father Jin then tells Grandpa Itadori not to say weird things in front of Yuji because babies' memories can unexpectedly stick with them, where funny enough it did. Grandpa Yuji then pretty much reveals everything about Yuji's existence, as he says that he understands how his own son Jin Itadori felt about always wanting a child, and that he couldn't have one with a woman named Kaori, who I'm assuming was Jin's first wife. But Grandpa Itadori then states that Kaori died, but before he could finish his sentence explaining the cause of her death, a woman appears with stitches on her head, calling Grandpa Itadori father-in-law whilst asking what the conversation was about. So yes, this is Brain-kun and Yuji's mother. Again, we covered this in detail in our previous videos, so if you want to understand why this all made sense from the very beginning, then make sure to check them out. But what exactly is happening? Who exactly is Kaori and who is this woman?
What? Why?
Well, from what Yuji's grandpa stated, I came up with a couple of possibilities. Number 1, Kaori was Jin's first wife, but she wasn't able to conceive a child, so Jin sought a method for her to do so, resulting in her death as she was then taken over by the brain. But I think that possibility is quite of a stretch. Number 2, Kaori was Jin's first wife, but she died, maybe related to the brain or Jin's desire. But this new woman with stitches isn't Kaori, but just a new wife and Yuji's mother, obviously also the brain inhabiting her. But number 3, which I think to be the most likely choice, Kaori died and Jin, refusing to accept her death, allowed himself to be manipulated and have Kaori to be taken over by the brain so he could have his perfect family, resulting in Yuji's birth. So this woman with stitches might have once been Kaori but no longer is. Either way, Yuji's grandpa understood the danger of this woman. It's not evident as of yet if Grandpa Itadori was from a sorcerer clan, and although it still is possible, the probable answer just from this flashback and how Jin behaved, it seems they are regular humans. More than likely, if possible, a distant relative of some sorcerer clan like how Yuta was. In an interview with Akutami, he even stated that Yuta was the only sorcerer from his family. None of his siblings or parents had any affinity towards it, so this is very possible. However, the fact that Grandpa Itadori recognized the danger of this woman for sure goes to tell us that he wasn't any regular human. We also have to think about why would the brain choose to target the Itadori family? What was so special about them? Did Brain-kun know about their heritage? And if they went back to Sukuna or his contemporaries' family, did the brain manipulate the whole situation? This can't just be coincidence, right? The brain was from the same Heian period as Sukuna, so him knowing about Sukuna and his peers' family is very likely. Now, just to clarify, when I say Itadori is linked to Sukuna, I do not mean Sukuna himself, as it was made clear by Akutami that when Sukuna was alive, he didn't have any wives or children. So if the Itadoris were related to Sukuna somehow, it would be through a common ancestor and not a direct link. We also don't know who this woman the brain has taken over was. If she was from a sorcerer clan herself is yet to be confirmed, but more than likely she might have been a sorcerer with a unique curse technique the brain needed to formulate his plans. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But with that, we enter the second part of this video regarding Gojo's true plan with Yuta and how Megumi is involved. This flashback ends with Yuji waking up in a campsite with Yuta sitting over him. As Yuji wakes up confused, Yuta says what a relief and continues to explain everything we mentioned in our last video regarding how it was confirmed by Gege Akutami in his recent fanbook interview that whilst Yuji was with Nanami before the Goodwill arc, Gojo was overseas to see Yuta. We mentioned how it was more than likely that Yuta is possibly Gojo's right hand man and Gojo relied on him in his absence. Chapter 143 confirms this as Yuta tells Itadori on how Gojo came to visit him overseas in September. This gets illustrated in a flashback of Gojo visiting Yuta, telling him that he had a bad feeling, so just in case something does happen, he told Yuta to make sure he looks after the other students, especially taking a special care of Itadori, since both Yuta and Itadori had an execution suspension, so they have quite a lot of similarities. Now at this point, Gojo didn't know anything about the brain, but did suspect there to be a spy in the Jujutsu Kaisen high school and didn't trust the higher ups, especially when it came to Itadori. After all, they did try to kill him early on in the series. Even though Yuta was quite unsure what could ever happen to Gojo, he agrees to his request. This scene goes back to Yuta in the present as he continues to explain that everything he did from the beginning was an act.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
To fool the higher ups to keep Itadori from being executed. Yuta purposely entered into a binding vow with the higher ups to kill him, knowing he would be able to use his reversed curse technique to revive Itadori right after. This is more than likely why Sukuna made that smiling expression when Yuta stabbed him. So to clarify, Yuta did in fact kill Itadori but revived him just like when Sukuna killed him by taking out his heart and then reviving him right after they made that deal. The reason Yuta decided to go with the Yuji execution plan was because he didn't want to lack any information that the higher ups might have had on Itadori and his condition. Now that Naoya has been forced to tell the higher ups that he is dead, Yuta can protect him a little easier. Yuta then also makes a point that this is the second time Itadori's death and resurrection is being covered up. He then elaborates on his reasoning for doing all of this, telling him that the people Yuta cares about care cares about Itadori, once again confirming our reasons for why Yuta was working against the higher ups. Lastly, the main reason was the massive similarity between the two. However, Yuta makes sure to point out the difference. Yuta was responsible for his own burden, whereas the burden put on Itadori wasn't his own doing. Guys, if you want to know more about Yuta and his past, to understand his philosophy and the way he thinks, make sure to check out our video that we did on him covering the Jujutsu prequel series. Now, Yuta reminds Yuji that the Shibuya incident wasn't his fault, but Itadori disagrees. Like, regardless, even though he didn't kill anyone himself, our boy, due to not being able to control Sukuna's takeover, a mass amount of people did die. But out of the shadows, Megumi finally arrived, showcasing that Yuta kept his old gang in the loop. Megumi tells Itadori that they have to go back to the school and that the barriers around it are weakening, so he will be able to get past as long as no one sees his face. As Megumi says that they need to regroup with the other senior students, Itadori snaps, denying this invitation, as he's still upset over Sukuna killing all those people, and Megumi shouldn't act like everything is normal. At this point, Yuta notices the doubt in Itadori's heart, relating to the feeling of if Itadori wants to even live after all of this. He even goes on to say that in their fight, Itadori wasn't going full out due to this doubt. Yuji continues to blame himself, but Megumi says, no, it's both their faults. Megumi explains that they cannot be judged by humans, so they must prove their worth of their existence by saving as many people as they can. Yuji actually resonates with this, but thinks to himself, as long as he's by Megumi's side, then Megumi will always be suffering. Now, this could be a hint that Itadori has a feeling that Sukuna is interested in Megumi, or Itadori is just scared that he will end up hurting Megumi too. Megumi interjects, asking Itadori for his help, something we all know our boy won't be able to refuse. Megumi explains that Noritoshi Kamo, aka Brain-kun, has arranged a death battle between sorcerers he created the cooling game. Megumi's sister Sukumi is a part of this, and Megumi will want to save her. And then the chapter ends with the 8 rules of the cooling game. So let's quickly go over these 8 rules and explain what's going to happen. Number 1, the players must move within the game barrier within 19 days after awakening their curse techniques. Number 2, any players who disobey the first rule loses their curse technique. Number 3, non-players who enter the game barrier will be accepted as players and will be treated as such. Number 4, players can earn points by killing each other. Number 5, the points amount is decided by the game master. Non-sorcerers are worth 1 point and sorcerers are worth 5 points. Number 6, players who get 100 points on top of the points they are worth will be allowed to request a rule to be added to the game. Number 7, the game master must accept any new rules unless they interfere with the continuation of the game. Number 8, if a player fails to gain any points after acquiring a technique or joining the game, they will lose their curse technique. Now, as the name suggests, culling means a reduction of wild animal population by selective slaughter, in this case Jujutsu sorcerers. The culling game being conducted by Brain-kun or Noritoshi Kamo is the beginning of the plan he discussed with Yuki at the end of the Shibuya arc. His plan to cause chaos and bring about the golden age of curse techniques. Brain-kun wants to further the chaos started with the Shibuya incident, giving rise to more curses and more cursed users, ultimately to tap into the grand essence of cursed energy. Optimizing of cursed energy is Brain-kun's goal, but how exactly will this culling game cause this? Well, let me explain. Other than creating more tension, stress and fear for regular people in Tokyo, we still do not know 100% how these steps will lead to human potential with curse techniques being expanded. But what we do know is that Noritoshi Kamo, with Mahito's abilities, can manipulate the soul of people, hence removing the ability to use curse techniques and granting it based on the points they earn in this game. Now, I'm assuming Brain-kun himself is the game master, but who knows, there might be others down the line. Regardless, the Brain-kun effectively making barriers around random spots in the city will cause uproar, as this barrier will not be limited to sorcerers only. Non-sorcerers will be able to enter, being prey for the sorcerers, along with sorcerers who do enter will also be ending up fighting each other to the death. More than likely, Megumi and the gang will enter this game, whilst trying to avoid killing these sorcerers who are pushed by Brain-kun to do so. Along with that, there's still many unanswered questions about the brain and even Sukuna. Also, what happened to Choso? Is he dead? I hope not. He truly became one of my old top 10 characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. But with that, guys, that's it for this video. Make sure to let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comment section below. Till then, I'll catch you lot next time.